Chesticles and testicles, welcome one and all to another lore dive. I've been doing a lot more lore dives lately, and I've been enjoying it. I do love lore. I love consuming lore of different things. They help me with projects that I'm working on privately that you will not know about for a while, and they help me just kind of have a good time. Lore is one of my favorite things lately to consume. Lord of the Rings has been fun. Call of Duty is what we're doing now. Got some Call of Duty zombies lore. Apparently the story is crazy. Everyone's in my chat's been telling me to jump into this. So it's time. Let's see if the hype is actually real and if this really has better lore than Elden Ring and shit like that. All right, let's go.
A long time ago,
Nazi zombies.
there were godlike beings.
That's the only thing I know.
Called keepers.
This is Call of Duty, right? Listen, I played Call of Duty a long time ago, like when I was a kid. I played Black Ops, all right, on the Wii. It's pretty cringe to even think about it. But in my experience, it was just like you're a guy with a gun shooting guys with guns. But the Zig obviously knows a lot more than I do, so let's see what this is all about.
And the creation around them, which they called the Aether. Two of those beings went by many names throughout the span of time.
Wait, that's a COD character?
Which they called the Aether. Two of those beings...
What the fuck is this Lovecraft shit? This is COD? The zombie section of Call of Duty lore is a whole different beast. All right, listen. There are apparently Lovecraft gods in Call of Duty. This is news.
Went by many names throughout the span of time.
I'd let this keeper go crazy, if you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. This is the type of keeper that the girls on TikTok would be go crazy over. They would love this keeper. Here, let me show you my favorite tweet of all time. Normally, I only bookmark tweets that are canceling me because it makes me happy to look through them and see myself living rent-free in the heads of the people that hate me. But I love this tweet. Barnes & Noble added a monster section. The okay hear me out section. And it's a whole section of just girl books with like petite women and just like big fucking hunking monsters. This is my favorite new thing of all time. So this guy, if this was for the female fan.
Most commonly, one was referred to as Dr. Monty.
Oh my god, is that internet historian?
And the other as the Shadow Man. You see, not much is known about their history before the invention of a device known as the summoning key. But it was this device that allowed the keepers to manipulate the Aether and create Agartha. What is Agartha?
Agartha is in Call of Duty? Isn't Agartha the Hollow Earth theory? Listen, so I know that you know me as Lord Nuxanor, man who keeps getting in insane amounts of drama on the internet because I like being a little bit of a troll. And also, Nuxanor, lore consumer extraordinaire, will consume all lore of every video game on the face of the planet. A lot of you don't know me as conspiracy theorist lore consumer as well. I do that, and I'm willing to make videos on it too, but Agartha is the Hollow Earth conspiracy. That's why it's in Call of Duty. There's a whole conspiracy theory that Nazis went to Antarctica to discover if there was like some sort of power source there, and what they ended up finding in Antarctica was a cave that went into the Hollow Earth, and so Nazis discovered the Hollow Earth. This is part of a big conspiracy theory that idiots actually believe in. Oh my fucking god. Are you telling me that that is canon in Call of Duty?
It's essentially another dimension that is beyond anything that we know and don't know.
Right.
It's a dimension where everything is perfect.
Agartha is an alternate dimension in COD lore? Yeah, this is a rabbit hole I was not expecting. I thought when we would be doing COD lore, it's like, all right, General Smithers, go in there and blow the shit out of those Nazis. Not literally blow them, that would be weird, but blow them up is what I'm trying to say.
The keepers were a lot like ancient.
I was talking about like COD games and shit like this with another VTuber, and I was saying that's like, oh yeah, killing Nazis, and they're like, that must be so cathartic for you. You know, because my grandparents are Holocaust survivors. And I'm like, no, I really didn't think of it like that, but okay.
Scientists.
You call it Call of Duty, I call it therapy.
They experimented with a lot of things, and that got them into trouble. The keepers were able to master the ability to travel between dimensions, which led to the discovery of something called the Dark Aether.
This is COD! I'm sorry, I'm gonna keep saying that. What? This is why I do my lore dives. Because my mind expands through every lore dive.
It's a powerful energy source that exists beneath creation. Many of the keepers were corrupted by this new power and turned into bad guys we know as apothecons.
Why do you call this guy a bad guy, okay? Dude, look at this man. This is what an unhappy vagina looks like.
These guys were led by the Shadow Man. A war raged.
So Shadman is the guy that's controlling these fucking Lovecraftian entities from an alternate dimension?
Between the apothecons and the keepers, who were led by Dr. Monty, until finally, the apothecons were defeated and banished to the Dark Aether. Over the span of eons, the apothecons evolved into twisted, monstrous creatures whose only desire was to return to Agartha. They just wanted to come home. But these guys knew a secret. On Earth, there was a gateway to Agartha. So,
Don't see Antarctica. Don't do it.
they sent meteors containing something called element 115 to various Earths across various dimensions.
Nuts, you should react to Call of Duty lore, they said. It'll be an easy one to get into, they said. It's just a basic war with interesting stories, they said. Bro, there's another fucking multiverse. Okay, I've been doing a deep dive into Marvel Comics lore a little bit recently also. I've been doing deep dives into DC shit. I've been doing deep dives into Gravity Falls. Every deep dive that I've been going into ends up fucking me in the ass with multiverses. I was so not ready for this.
Was their belief
Ew, France!
that if humanity waged enough war with each other,
I might get canceled for that, but it'll be by the French, so.
a rift would open up, allowing the Apothicons to escape the Dark Aether. Eventually, this does happen. The Apothicons escape, so the Keepers teamed up with the humans to defend Earth. The Apothicons, although really scary looking, are just a bunch of wusses because they lose the war.
These giant Lovecraftian whale monsters with rows of teeth ready to send humanity to the Shadow Realm. Pussies.
Again. After the war, there were 4 knights wielding staves of power.
Are we really in Call of Duty right? Is this a different zombie storyline? Am I like not in Call of Duty at all? Around to another video, Steve, welcome to the family. No, this is Call of Duty. This is actually Call of Duty. Okay.
These guys were known as Premis. But with all this magic, fighting, and dimension hopping going on, someone forgot to document the war. Now, there was also another dimension that documented the Great War, but we'll get to that later. Let's just stick with this dimension and fast forward to the 1800s.
All right.
Element 115 was discovered in the American West. Yeehaw!
Yeah,
It was also during
baby!
this time that a resident of the town, Jebediah Brown,
land of the free,
created a piece of something known as the agartha device. It's an object that is used to shape our reality. However, it needs 3 things for it to work. The Vril device, blood of an elder god, and an
There are elder gods in Call of Duty.
elemental shard. He created the Vril device, but didn't have access to the other pieces. Now let's again fast forward to World War II.
Let's do that, because that seems to be the epicenter of good content these days.
Somehow, 3 major powers of the world discovered more of element 115. The Germans, Japanese, and the Americans.
America! Fuck yeah, America! Woo!
What a coincidence, right?
It is a coincidence, because you probably don't get it, but the coincidence is these were some of the major forces that were fighting in World War II. You probably don't know that, because you haven't done World War II lore like I have.
The Germans and the Japanese wanted to use it to create something of a super soldier that would be useful in the war.
Oh my god, that's what happens. They use this Agartha magic crystal to create super soldiers. That's how it definitely directly impacts COD.
Group 935, led by German scientists Dr. Maxis and Dr. Richthofen, began experimenting with
At
teleportation.
least pronounce it right. It's Dr. Richthofen!
But they screwed up and inadvertently
They made zombies. Wait, it really is Nazi experiments gone bad. The zombies are attacking!
created the first zombie. Seeing his failure, Maxis diverts his attention to making wonder weapons. There was a problem though. Money was low. So, the Nazis stepped in and said, hey, I know we're in a war and stuff, but we will give you some money if you send us some super weapons.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure.
Dr. Maxis went for the deal. Richthofen and Dr. Schuster continued
It's actually pronounced Richthofen and Dr. Schuster!
working on the teleporter behind Maxis' back. In the process of experiment,
Teleporter?
Dr. Richthofen wanted to use the teleporter himself, but he accidentally teleported himself to the moon, where
Where he dies.
back in the time of the Great War, the Apothicons had created a Dark Aether pyramid. Of course, he
Bro, he accidentally teleports himself to some Necron shrine in some random Warhammer 40k world, wakes up a whole group of fucking monsters.
had to touch it too. Resulted in him getting electrocuted and hearing voices telling him to open it up. That electric shock also led to him getting teleported to a jungle called Shangri-La.
Bro is literally getting thrown around the galaxy. Is zoop, bouncing off different planets. There's a pyramid on the moon. Don't ask questions, okay? It's from the Agarthans.
While Richthofen was there, he discovered the focusing stone
It's actually pronounced Dr. Richthofen!
and
I'm
Agartha.
gonna stop making that joke.
A little while later, he was teleported back to Group 935's facilities at Duris and started planning the construction of a moon base.
Oh my fucking god. Bro's getting that frequent flyer miles and using that to pay for his fucking moon base. And that is how the Nazis created a base on the moon. Classic World War II, am I right, guys?
You still with me?
I am with you. There was a guy who found a secret weapon who accidentally made a zombie and sold weapons to Hitler. So he was paid to create weaponry, made a teleporter, teleported himself to the moon, found an ancient pyramid. The pyramid electrocuted him, transported him to Shangri-La, ended up in an isekai anime, decided to fuck with some ethereal powers, made a moon base. Classic German scientist. Am I right, guys?
Maxis had a daughter named Samantha. She was neglected by her father, and during one of the teleportation experiments, Richtofen decided it would be a great idea to teleport them away. Samantha got sent to the moon.
No! Go to your room. Teleport you to the moon.
And her dad to the crazy place. While Samantha was on the moon, Grafenschüster scared her, and she jumped into the Aether pyramid.
No, why would you do that? Boo! Ah! Jumps into the Aether pyramid. Alien fucking technology.
Meanwhile, her father developed the ability,
not alien fucking technology, but alien fucking technology. You know, not like
to physically merge with electricity. Eventually, Dr. Richtofen pulls Dr. Maxis out of the crazy place to get him to talk Samantha out of the pyramid.
A lot of people are unaware of this, but the crazy place is canonically Asmongold's bedroom.
Ends up coming out and is greeted by her father, telling her to kill them all, before eventually turning.
Who's them in this situation? You thinking of any specific them? Who are the them that the Nazis tried to kill? When the Nazis said kill them all, like, what were they referring to? I'm just asking the questions that we've all been thinking.
A gun on himself. Dr. Maxis merges with the electronics on the moon, but his death triggers Samantha, and she releases the undead on the base to kill every member of Group 935.
Dude gets electrocuted, dies, merges his consciousness with an alien supercomputer, daughter becomes Makima from Chainsaw Man, and sends zombies to fucking destroy the world. Call of Duty lore, I will admit, this is sending me a little bit. I was very, very on the board of not expecting this even a little.
What a gal. This is where a group called Ultimus
I can fix her!
comes in. A group of prisoners who are being used as test subjects for Dr. Richtofen's mind control experiments. In this group was American tank Dempsey, Russian prisoner Nikolai Belinsky, and a Japanese soldier named Takeo Masaki.
Now that is diversity in media, ladies and gentlemen. Diversity in media. She's like 10 Nux. I didn't know that, okay? She's a child. Stop. I swear. I had no idea. I'm telling you. I just meant like I could convince her to not sick mutant electric zombies on the world is what I was trying to say. I'm so sorry.
During this time, Samantha Maxis was going nuts on the moon with her zombies and stuff.
Yeah.
So, Richtofen thought he knew how to beat her, and the secret lied within his diary. So Richtofen woke the group up in order to retrieve his diary from Shinonuma. It was a successful mission, and they were able to return safely back to Doris. This is good news, right?
Yeah!
Well, no, not exactly. After returning, the next part of the plan was to go to the moon to stop Psycho Samantha. But Richtofen ended up overloading the teleporter, sending the Ultimus crew to Kino in the 1960s.
Beam me up, Scotty! Sends them 40 years into the future. Oh, no.
And his diary ended up at the Ascension facility with the Russians. If you know a bit about history, you'll know that during the 60s, the Cold War was in full swing, and the US and Russia weren't exactly the best of friends.
What are you talking about? They literally were the best of friends. Jaden Animations and I recreate the Cold War in every single one of our collabs.
Americans and Soviets raided Group 935 and took all their sweet sciencey stuff. The Soviets were experimenting with Element 115 at this time, and they also discovered a second part to the agartha device.
Yeah.
The blood of an elder god.
Oh my fucking god, they actually find the blood of an elder god. And then they can finally use it to access this multiverse.
By the way, remember Samantha?
Yeah.
Well,
she's making mutant zombies destroy the people.
She was able to time travel with the help of Yuri and stalk Ultimus throughout time and space.
When I said she was Makima, I was kidding. But I am not kidding anymore. A space-time stalker? Bro, that is some German science.
This is why everything is overrun with
God, what's next? Is she gonna gasp? React to a Jaden Animations video?
Zombies. Darn it, Yuri. While Ultimus was fighting off the undead, they discovered a lunar lander and traveled to Ascension. Meanwhile, the White House is under attack by zombies. After surviving the outbreak, they create the group Broken Arrow, a scientific research program sanctioned by President Kennedy to research Element 115.
Let's go, President Kennedy! Woo! See, my favorite thing about President Kennedy is that he lives a nice, long, happy, healthy life. Nothing bad happens to him.
Now let's go back to Ascension. Richtofen remembers that the Vril device is at the Siberian facility.
You just mentioned that right now?
So, Ultimus frees Gersh, this little orb thingy, and he teleports them to Siberia in 2011.
Bruh.
Unfortunately, they land in a locked room on the set of George Romero's movie, Call of the Dead. At this time, George Romero was doing some research for a World War II movie when he got his hands on Richtofen's research. This inspires him to make a movie about zombies.
Wait, in Call of Duty, there's a story about a film producer that finds a time traveler Nazi's journal and tries to make a movie out of it.
Using that as a cover-up to do more digging at the Siberian facility. Ultimus arrives and an outbreak occurs. But since they're locked up in some room, they aren't able to get what they came for. Call the dead cast to the rescue. They bring the Vril device to Richtofen, and once again, Ultimus teleports out of there. Ultimus then makes a pit stop at the Himalayas, aka Shangri-La, in search of the focusing stone. Lucky for them, 2 British explorers got there first. The 2 British explorers, known as Brock and Gary, were looking for a
Hey, it's me, Brock and Gary. What's the worst thing that could happen? We're just here in an isekai world looking for some fucking teleportation crystals.
agartha when an eclipse occurred and trapped them in a time loop. It's almost like somebody didn't want them finding agartha. Anyway, Ultimus frees them in exchange for this glowing rock. Finally, Richtofen has everything he needs for his plan. He teleports to the moon, combines the Vril device and focusing stone to power the MPD, and swaps his soul with Samantha's.
Bro is just an autogynephiliac all along. What the fuck, man? That was your whole plan? To put yourself in the body of the little girl that can mind control zombies?
Now he's in control of the zombies.
God damn, that was his plan.
And the ether.
That is a fucked up plotline. Holy shit.
The end. Kidding. We're not done yet. Remember Dr. Maxis?
Yeah.
Well, his consciousness is still in the electronics on the moon.
You see, he may have been killed on the moon by magic lightning, but his consciousness is still around. Classic Dr. Richstein, or whatever his name was.
Contacts the other 3 Ultimus members and has them launch rockets at Earth to cut Richtofen off from the ether. Unfortunately, the calculations were bad,
and it turns out shooting random missiles at planet Earth was not a good idea.
Earth is now in a million pieces.
What? Guys! Jam the phone lines! Proceeds to blow up the planet. Dude, what is this? This is some Warhammer shit. Guy was an Inquisitor, didn't even know it. What? The plans were off by a Skosh? So, Heil Hitler! There was a slight miscommunication. A bisschen problema. Oh, no.
But Richtofen still has control over the zombies.
So it's still okay. Let's go.
Great.
That's good.
Earth is at the mercy of 2 mad scientists. Before we get any further, let's talk about what's happening on Earth while all the moon stuff was going on. So, Broken Arrow was drilling for 115 near Nuketown when their drill exploded. The CIA and CDC were sent to investigate, but when they arrived, they found that a zombie outbreak already occurred. Apparently, the explosion threw bits of 115 into the surrounding air and caused all the Broken Arrow employees to get infected.
Like, normally when you have, like, these zombie stories, it's some kind of, domino effect. That it happens at one point somewhere, and then it just spreads, you know? Like in The Walking Dead or in The Last of Us. Like, it just somehow it happens, and then it spreads. Here, it's not like that. It's contained every single time. And then because these Nazi scientist fuckers are just pieces of shit, it's like, oopsie, infected another country. Oh, oops.
Getting back to the CDC and CIA agents, they don't live very long because one of the rockets from the moon hits nearby. Everyone at Nuketown is killed except for one Marlton Johnson, who happened to be hiding in the fallout shelter there. Why was he there?
Don't ask questions. He was the janitor, okay?
Because he's a conspiracy theorist and wanted to dig deeper into Broken Arrow's experiments.
Is that true? Is that actually canon? The only guy that survives is the conspiracy theorist? What does that say about the Alex Joneses of the world?
After leaving Nuketown to continue his search, he meets Miss.
They turned the freaking frogs gay! And then he goes into his streaming service bunker shit, and then the rest of the world explodes.
Russman, and Stuhlinger at the Hanford site in
It's not a conspiracy theory, it's a conspiracy fact!
Washington State. I'm talking about transit. Together, they become Victis.
Yeah.
Then Maxis and Richtofen reach out to them. Both scientists were contacting the survivors to activate pylons for them, but they each wanted them for different reasons. Maxis wanted to open a gateway to Agartha and reunite with his daughter in order to heal the Earth. Richtofen wanted to mend the rift and gain control over zombies. And
dude, why does this guy want to control zombies so badly? Like, God, dude, get a hobby, get a girlfriend, touch grass. Bro's whole life is he transferred his consciousness into someone else to control zombies, but blew up the planet. Why do you need zombies? There might be Jews left somewhere. I still need more zombies. Like, brother, this is a terrible hobby. Collect stamps or some shit. Play Genshin Impact.
And humans. Oh, I almost forgot. Richtofen could only talk to people who have a connection to Aether, and that's through eating zombie flesh. So the only person he could talk to in the Victis crew was Stuhlinger. The other 3 were contacted by Maxis. Moving on, the crew ends up activating 3 pylons in Maxis' favor. One in transit, one in die-rise, and the last one in buried. But Maxis is a liar. Instead of healing the Earth, he opens up a rift to Agartha to meet with Samantha, and
This is actually such a crazy fucking story. It's like, hey, can you shut off the phone lines? Sure. Proceeds to blow up the earth. Hey, can you move this pylon? Sure. Opens up a portal to another dimension. It's like, you say, I am doing a generic normal task, nothing, no questions to be asked here. Proceeds to do some of the most batshit and crazy stuff in the universe.
Destroys the earth entirely.
Before it was in many pieces, now is toast.
On top of that, for revenge, he puts Richtofen's soul into a zombie.
Dude, these fucking guys, this is some next level hatred. It's like, bro, it's his soul. I don't understand. This is so fucking wild.
When Daddy Maxis arrives in Agartha, Samantha realizes he is an evil old man. So she reaches out to a nicer version of him in Dimension 63 and convinces him to help free her from Agartha.
Yo, my dad, I don't like him, but my dad in an alternate dimension, kinda based.
This is the beginning of the documented dimension. In this dimension, a guy named Pablo
Oh my god, it's me!
Marinus wrote about the Great War. This leads to Group 935 discovering 115 a few decades earlier at the Origins site. The Allies didn't like that this kind of power was in German hands.
Only fucking COD can make a storyline that ends with the Earth being completely destroyed by mega fuck-ups of different worlds and people. To have a new dimension that takes place before World War II to literally have another World War II campaign in the same timeline. This is like actually crazy, mind-blowing shit. Think of how smart this is. Call of Duty, a franchise based on the big World War II, was able to fit 2 separate World War IIs in a linear timeline. That's fucking balls to the walls insane.
So they sent 3
I had no idea Call of Duty had a story like this. I thought it was just funny gun game. You take guns, you kill people.
Operatives to investigate. The US sent Dempsey, Japan sent Tak, and Russia sent Nikolai.
Dude, this is the funniest shit in the world. Oh my god. The America sent whatever.
The US sent Dempsey.
All right, the US sent Dempsey. Dude's holding a machine gun, all right.
Japan sent Tak.
Japan sent a guy with a katana. Okay, all right.
And Russia sent Nikolai.
It's like, United States soldier holds a machine gun. Russian soldier holds, I don't know, whatever the fuck this is. A Japanese soldier takes out a katana. Oh my god.
Before the 3 arrived in France, an outbreak occurred at the dig site. Maxis, unfortunately, got really ill and became one of the infected. But before he turned, Richtofen took the old hacksaw to Maxis' skull and put his brain inside a drone.
Dude, there is more consciousness brain swapping in this show than in fucking Rick and Morty. What is even going on?
That's when the other 3 guys showed up, and all 4 united to form Premis. Their new mission? Free Samantha. And that's exactly what they do. Maxis in drone form goes to Agartha, frees her, and Dr. Monty erases evil Maxis from existence. Monty also gives drone Maxis a new body. Now we get reintroduced to Dr. Monty.
He's back! Internet historian hath returned.
He comes up with some great plan and reveals it to Maxis.
Okay, it's not gonna be a great plan. This is not gonna be a great plan.
He wants to create a new reality that is free of corruption and free of the apothecons.
Guys, I have a new idea. Definitely subscribe if you believe in world peace. We're trying to end corruption. Definitely subscribe to end corruption. Leave a like for world peace. I love how the great idea is like, all right, so I have a great idea, guys. What if everyone was just a nice guy? Like, there are no more bad guys. We don't kill them, they just become nice.
However, he needs the souls of people who have already been through the fracturing of the multiverse. That means Ultimus. But hang on, we'll get back to that in a second. Maxis teleports Richtofen to Agartha real fast and tells him about Dr. Monty's plan. Richtofen needs to retrieve the summoning key in the Chronor in order for this plan to work.
I love how every single arc involves these German scientist guys just coming up with a new utopia and just continuing to fuck shit up again and again and again.
Richtofen travels to 1940
I wonder if in his alternate universe he's gonna have any Jews. Random question, not based in any form of history.
and asks the Illuminati to build him a lab
There's an Illuminati now in the canon?
underneath Alcatraz.
Sure.
A few days later, he meets with the warden of Alcatraz, Stanley Ferguson, and convinces him to help them construct and maintain the lab. Richtofen returns to Agartha and finds out that he also has a connection to Victis, and can talk to Stuhlinger the way Ultimus Richtofen did. He uses Stu to get the Victis crew to find the Chronorium for him, then takes their blood samples and has them transferred to
There's a Call of Duty Zombies comic? How is there so much content here? I didn't even know this had a story.
Alcatraz, where they stay frozen until a better world arrives. Better world? Yeah, right.
What do you mean? Germans were creating utopia. Nothing has been wrong in their search for a utopia. This has always been part of the plan.
Later, Richtofen gets the blood samples of Sal and Finn from Mob of the Dead, hands them over to his younger self. His younger self arrives from Z's
time traveling bullshit. And it's like the plan is so convoluted.
Sabot gets the blood vials, and older Richtofen travels to Morgue City, where Shadows of Evil takes place. He recently learned that the summoning key was there. Before Richtofen arrives, the Shadow Man screws with the heads of 4 individuals in Morgue City. He tells them that they've done some bad stuff, and that they have to do some rituals to free him and make up for their mistakes. The crew ends up freeing him, and then realize that they were tricked. So they put him back in the summoning key.
What the shit is even going on? So there's this ancient god trapped in a summoning key. It tricks them into freeing it, and they're like, oh shit, you were an evil god. And then they just put him back in the summoning key. It's like, nope, back in the box you go.
But then Richtofen arrives and takes it, dooming their dimension. Premis then
he just doomed an entire dimension to make his utopia. If that's not the most Nazi shit I've ever heard, then I don't know what is.
travels to Doris in the undocumented dimension in 1943, a few seconds right after Richtofen sends Sam and her father away in the teleporter. Boom. Ultimus Richtofen dead. Why does
I'm sure he stays dead and there's no more alternate timeline Richtolfens to show up.
he do this? Remember, Monty needs Ultimus's souls in order to erase the Apothecans from reality. 3 more souls to go. Premis goes on to Dreisendrach to get
I'm blown away that this is all part of the Call of Duty storyline. I thought the Call of Duty storyline was like kill Nazis, not hunt down the souls of 4 legendary people to seal away ancient eldritch monsters.
Ultimus Dempsey's soul, Setsubo no Shima to get Ultimus Takia's soul, and finally, Gerard Grovey to get Nikolai's. In between Zetsubo and Gerard, they stop at Alcatraz for snacks. Then, Richtofen sends the souls to the house, where they can all be innocent children and play with the toys. Maxis somehow gets his hands on the summoning key and frees the Shadow Man from it. The Shadow Man then
he's back! You keep bringing him back! Like, you can't leave a good villain gone!
Opens a rift and allows all the Apothecons into Agartha. This is what we see in Revelations. Dang it, Maxis. Monty tasks Premis with defeating the Shadow Man and his followers, which they do, and they also drink the blood vials they get from Blood of the Dead, because once they give Monty what he wants, he plans to erase them from reality.
I would just Thanos snap you guys away. Your job is done.
Monty is pissed, because they've just started a paradox by drinking blood from dimensions that don't exist anymore. Instead of destroying them, he sends Premis back to the Great War, where they start all over again.
And there's another World War II in the same timeline. Can you imagine being the same fucking soldier, needing to fight World War II, okay? Surviving World War II, dealing with this guy that blew up the planet, alternate dimension, goes to find another dimension to make a utopia, frees fucking Satan, who releases the Apothecons on your dimension, he drinks Elder God blood, it was a paradox, destroys him, and recreates him in another world to do World War II again for the 3rd time! Like, this is the most convoluted multiverse I've ever seen in my life. This makes the MCU multiverse look like it just makes sense.
All the previous events that went down are happening again.
And these guys are just like, ah, fuck.
And again, in an endless loop.
Oh my god.
But wait, I forgot to mention something. In Mob of the Dead, 4 mobsters imprisoned in Alcatraz planned to escape using a makeshift plane. Their names were Sal DeLuca, Billy Handsome, Finn O'Leary, and Al Arlington. But the plan falls through, and the other 3 blame Al and kill him on the roof of the prison. Sal, Billy, and Finn
Classic Al
are caught and sentenced to the electric chair. They become trapped in purgatory, where those same events repeat over and over again.
Guys, this is a game where you take guns and you kill Nazis. Also, here's 4 gangsters living in a prison, suffering purgatory, being attacked by zombies. Makes sense to me. I'm following, I'm with you. It's complicated, but I'm with you.
Until this happens. When Al kills the other mobsters, the loop breaks. But this causes other ripples in the timeline.
Sure.
This time, when Premis goes to Blood of the Dead, the chronorium changes and the warden stops them from escaping. In order for them to leave, Richtofen has to sacrifice himself.
That's one major change in the 3rd timeline of this multiverse. So ultimately, maybe now they don't have to get obliterated from existence and release the Shadow Man.
Why? Because the Maxis from Agartha radios him and says that the crew has to get blood from someone who has traveled through more dimensions than anyone else in order for them to open a portal and escape. That
is the most Deus Ex Machina random plot point I've ever heard in my life. In order to open a portal, we must take blood from a person who's been to the most dimensions, and that's you. Sorry, I will make you an offer you cannot refuse. It's like, bro, wow, he sacrificed himself as they strap him to the machine and start sucking his blood out. Thank you for your sacrifice. And he's like, no, I do not sacrifice myself. Please, please, do not kill me. Do not kill me. And they're like, thank you for your sacrifice, sir. You will be remembered as a hero. He's like, no!
It happens to be Richtofen. Great War Richtofen wakes up, basically lets Premis Richtofen know that he was useless, and continues the rest of his journey with Nikolai, Dempsey, and Taku.
Nice.
By the way, Nikolai is in charge now. Premis travels to another dimension where Ultimus is imprisoned in the Pentagon and classified. They teleport them out of there, and both groups go to Camp Edward, aka Alpha Omega. Why did they go there, you may ask?
Yeah.
Premis and Ultimus have a plan to resolve the paradox. First thing they need is the Elemental Shard. So,
sure, the random paradox stopping MacGuffin. That'll save the timeline. They certainly won't be needing to live through World War II for a 4th time.
they nab that from Camp Edward, and
This is gonna be like how Attack on Titan labels its seasons. Welcome, guys, to Attack on Titan final season, part 2, part 3. It's like, okay.
Dr. Maxis radios them saying it's too late. Turns out, Monty's actually a bad guy. He doesn't want to destroy the Apothecans, and then the paradox is the...
Wait, this dude from the very beginning of the story, multiple games through, was never actually a good guy. The dude that was fighting for the Utopia was not a good guy. The guy that wanted to wipe out all people that weren't of his pure and wholesome race, that guy was not a good guy. The Nazi scientist guy that was opening dimensions and blowing up planets was not actually a good guy all along. So you mean to tell me that the Nazi scientist that was a racist, bigot, genocidal fuck was not a good guy? This changes everything I thought I understood about this game!
make a perfect reality. He wants to rule over the multiverse and get rid of anyone that gets in his way.
There we go. That's my boy. That's my classic Nazi scientist guy. I will rule the multiverse. I will kill everyone. They will all die before me. The SS will exterminate the Eldritch monsters.
Anyway, Maxis teleports Samantha and Eddie to Camp Edward before getting eaten by Dr. Monty.
Space. Vor. Not enough stream without Vor.
The two kids watched the entire thing go down.
Ew.
When they arrived, Sam unleashed her rage on Camp Edward and said she would kill Monty and
What does that mean? Unleashed her rage and makes a shockwave. How is that? I don't understand that.
burn the house down. After the Camp Edward shenanigans, Premis, Ultimus, and the kids celebrate their future victory in a forest, but they celebrate too soon. Premis Nikolai poisons their drinks and then wakes Victis to bring him the Agarthan device,
Oh my god, dude. Oh my god.
which they build at Tagder Toten. After bringing Nikolai the device, he uses it to destroy the summoning key, and the multiverse collapses with it.
Oh, let's go. So they get rid of the Shadow Man, and they prevent interdimensional travel, and they can actually focus on fixing this dimension instead of just dimension hopping while fucking around like Rick and Morty style, Cronenberging places up.
He also kills undead Richtofen, and then
He's undead. That's not counted as killing them.
asks Sam to kill him. Everything as we know it, Monty, Victis, the zombies,
It's over.
Apothecans, Element 115, it all gets thrown into the dark ether. The paradox gets resolved. Eddie and Sam enter the light at the end of the tunnel,
Let's go,
and
dude.
happily ever after, right?
No, I have a feeling not, because this video still has a couple of more minutes in it, so I have a feeling not.
Enter the dark ether.
Oh, wait, what?
From the previous...
So everything is ultimately resolved, right? All the different dimension time portaling shenanigans, that's all resolved. They resolved it somehow by fracturing this key, destroying the multiverse, and freeing people to actually fix their own multiverse, right? I think there is a really powerful lesson in there as well. Like the idea that if something's broken, don't just discard it and move on to something else that's not broken yet. I think the moral ultimately is if something's broken, just you got to work your best to fix it. Discarding it, trying to move on to somewhere else is never going to be a solution.
In this timeline, we know that the multiverse collapsed into one universe, free of Apothecans and free of corruption, and the rest of creation got sent to the Dark Ether, a place under creation and outside of reality. Anyone who survived, including humans and Apothecans, usually ended up twisted by the Dark Ether.
Oh my fucking god. The next one is in the Dark Ether? That's the next game? It's like, guys, we've concluded the storyline, happily ever after, fantastic moral character arcs are completed, but we're still making more games.
Into different creatures and monsters that matched their environment. Fast forward to World War II, the Nazis knew
Forward to World War II. There's a fourth World War II in the same fucking timeline. All the timey-wimey shit, collapsing reality stuff just keeps setting us back. The ride never ends. We are back in World War II for the fourth time. This is actually wild.
knew they were losing the war, and as a last-ditch attempt, they funded the construction of a particle accelerator. Led by two German scientists, Ulrich and Lucas Kurtz,
It's actually pronounced Vogel in Kurtz.
Project Endstation
I'm so sorry I'm doing this. I love it, the German accent, the high-pitched German accent so much. It's so funny.
was born, also known as the Machine. The particle accelerator worked phenomenally until they screwed up. Kurtz knew this would happen and even warned Vogel about it. Vogel and Kurtz were performing a test on the machine when it malfunctioned and opened a rift to the dark ether.
No! It's like they finally solve everything. They lock away all the corruption and evil into this dark ether. They're like, all right, so now we can do World War II properly, all right? We can go back to the classics. World War II, everyone loved World War II. So we can go back to World War II. It's a classic World War II with no time-space shenanigans. And one Nazi scientist fuck puts his dick on the wrong microwave and opens up a portal to the dark ether.
Creatures were pouring in, and the rift infected the air around it, turning Project Endstation employees into the undead. Vogel and his team contained the outbreak, but somehow the cyclotron was operating on its own. He also began studying the victims and found that they were infected by something he called Exoelement 1. Additionally, he created a device that could restore brain activity to zombified soldiers, Der Wäschler. Hitler saw the potential of weaponizing Endstation, and he
Hitler was like, ah yes, murdering people, this is right up my alley.
sent Task Force Boulder into the Dark Ether to ensure the Reich's victory. Sending that many individuals through the rift at once, however, overloaded the particle accelerator, sending waves of exoelement radiation throughout the lab. Vogel stayed behind to make sure that the task force made it through. When he died, he left behind a daughter, Angelica Hannibal Vogel.
It is mind-boggling to me that this is like the actual plot to Call of Duty.
You know her as Alexandra Valentina. She is one psychotic. Around 5 or 6 years old, her father was visiting her in her dreams, saying that she should finish what he started in order for him to come back with the milk. Turns out, this isn't her dad, and it's actually an entity known as the One, tricking her into letting him out of the Dark Ether so he can take over the world.
This is the same exact plot as the Shadow Man, 2 game titles prior. This is the same plot as Shadow Man. How the guy thought that in Victis or whatever they were called, they were hearing a whole thing from the guy that they thought they were releasing. They opened the key, and then the fucking Shadow Man came out, and then opened the portal to another dimension for all the eldritch monsters to pour in. This is the same exact plot, again, with Vogel over here, daughter, hearing a message from her father saying, you must free me, I am your father, finish what I started, but it's not her father. It's actually fucking interdimensional space Satan.
This was the beginning of her descent into madness. Throughout Valentina's childhood, Uncle Kurtz did not let her go to school because of what happened to her dad. But Valentina,
girl, don't go to this school because of what happened to your dad. Instead, here, work in the factory, make missiles. Classic uncle.
Uncle Kurtz did not let her go to school because of what happened to her dad. Nice. But Valentina was a super genius and snuck into his library reading up on biochemistry and physics. Nice. By 16, she got accepted into the Moscow Institute of Physics and Technology. Kurtz got to the acceptance letter first and burned it. A day later,
classic uncle. Oh my god. It's like, no, my child should not be going to the institute for this, even though she's very gifted. We should focus on important things, like how children yearn for the factories.
She poisoned him with some tea. She still went to college though.
Base niece, base daughter, base girl. Let's go, let's go, let's go.
Graduated as valedictorian and joined the KGB before joining Omega Group.
Nazi scientist's daughter joined the KGB. Just keeping track here.
What's Omega? It's a Russian Spec Ops team formed to counter Ronald Reagan's Strategic Defense Initiative. The Cold War was going down at this time, and whatever the US did, the Russians tried to one-up them. But let's go back in time for a sec. In 1945, the Red Army accidentally found Endstation, taking cameras in to film their discoveries.
Yeah, they're like, what is this weird portal here in the Nazi base?
Fortunately, the team that went in was attacked and killed by zombies. A week later, a cleanup crew arrives and sends Kazimir Zykov in to shut off the particle accelerator. He shuts it off, but gets trapped in the Dark Ether, never to be heard of for quite a while. The Red Army cleanup crew...
I can't believe they actually, like, focus on all these characters, you know? The idea that there's such a focus on just the random soldiers that they come back 2 titles later. It's like, oh yes, you were in the Dark Ether this whole time. Yes, I was. Now I would betray you.
Who also found the film reels of the team that went in a week before. The reels were hidden in a Soviet vault, only to be rediscovered by Alexandra Valentina.
Dude, this is some backrooms shit. Like how they send people into the backrooms, they never come back. They find some sort of footage from the backrooms. Yeah, I did a backrooms lore dive as well.
40 years later. This footage would end up giving her the approval that she would need to reactivate the cyclotron. She had a hidden agenda though. Omega was sent to End Station to weaponize their findings, but Valentina was really there to study the rifts, to make one of her own, and eventually reunite with Dad. Two scientists, Medvedev and Orlov, were chosen to turn on the collider. They successfully do so, but get infected in the process.
As they do.
Top of that, the rest of the facility gets overrun, and Omega Group flees. Not only that, turning on the power caused multiple breaches to sprout up around the world, including one in Vietnam and another in the Ural Mountains.
Yeah, all the wars throughout history that have happened, they weren't because humans are actually pieces of shit. The wars that took place were simply put because there were rifts opening in different places, so secret government organizations needed to start wars as cover-ups for the giant conspiracy theory. Humans, always good, not corrupt. It's the eldritch monsters.
Now it's the West's turn to come in. Samantha is back. She got her hands on a copy of the End Station footage and sent it to Weaver. She tells him, hey, check this out. And he sends a Requiem Strike team to investigate. As they uncover what happened at End Station, they meet Orlov and bring back some of his brain function using Der Veschler.
Alright, so go bring back some of his brain so we can know what he knows. Classic German science, best in the world.
After having some flashbacks and remembering why he was there, he agrees to help Requiem shut down the accelerator. The lab blows up, and Raptor 1 saves the day. But Omega's not done yet. They built an outpost around the Vietnamese rift that I told you about earlier, thus Firebase Z.
And that's why the Vietnam War happens, ladies and gentlemen. You thought it was because of whatever the history books tell you? You fool. You absolute buffoon. It was obviously because there was an interdimensional rift that opened.
Born. Dr. William Peck, formerly an American scientist who worked for DARPA, opened up his own portal and sent Omega Group soldiers into the Dark Aether to start mining Ethereum and make an unlimited power source. A lot of the miners didn't come back.
I also mine in Ethereum. Mostly the cryptocurrency and not, the interdimensional bullshit.
Back though, or they came back with their skin necrotized. And even then, some came back as mimics or whatever creature the One decided to turn them into. Meanwhile...
So wait, so this The One is like actual space Satan. Like, unironically, actual space Satan. Jumping around, fucking up anybody that touches the Dark Aether.
Dr. Valentina secretly met with Dr. Coldclay to get Peck's blueprints for his portal. Poor girl. She still thinks her dad is alive.
Nope, it's space Satan.
During this time, Samantha Maxis was on her way to meet with a defected Omega soldier named Ravenov. He was giving her the deets on what Omega was doing in Vietnam. She snuck around the firebase until she got caught and brought to Peck. Peck interrogated her, but to no avail. When she couldn't be broken, he threw her into the Dark Aether.
What a fucking piece of shit. It's like, alright, do you know any information? I do not know any information. Okay, I'm sending you to Space Satan's butthole.
Joke's on him. He does not know about her childhood. Out of her anger and hatred toward Peck, she caused an outbreak on the outpost. The portal at Outpost 25 released a gigantic burst of Ethereum radiation, turning everyone but Peck and Ravenov into zombies. They both hid in safe rooms, Peck at Omega HQ, and Ravenov in a village close by. Ravenov called Weaver, telling him that Maxis was captured, and Weaver sends a rescue team.
They're like, I am going to commit a war crime and throw you in another dimension. And she gets so angry, she turns the entire Nazi military into zombies. Serves you right, bitch.
The team rescues Maxis, fights off this giant tree that's apparently an elder god, and moves on to the next mission in the Ural Mountains, aka Outbreak Zombies. Oh yeah, and I almost forgot, Peck got his eye plucked out. So now Omega Group is in the Ural Mountains. A sort of super breach opened up in the Urals, and it created a barrier separating towns from each other like islands. Nobody could travel between locations without a portal.
Oh my god. Yes, because that's how wars are fought.
Omega also believed that giant Ethereum crystals were maintaining these barriers. When Peck got there, he was tasked with carrying out a plan called Operatia. The plan was to use the giant Ethereum crystals to make inversion warheads so that they could launch them to the US and create outbreak zones wherever they wanted.
Oh my fucking god, these guys, it's 1980, you lost the war! Stop! And they're like, yes, we can find a new way to annoy the Americans. We will simply drop insolent missiles to infect sick people.
That way, the Soviet army could hop through the portals and win the Cold War. Kravchenko takes over Operatia Inversia and realizes that something big in the Dark Aether was mobilizing an army. The warheads were now meant to be used as protection against this new threat, which doesn't make sense to me because
these warheads are literally chemical weapons that turn people into zombies. when you hear that there's an alternate dimension of space monsters, this is not gonna be what wins you this fight.
When Requiem comes to sabotage the missile launch, the missiles are still pointed at DC. Wait, Requiem was here too? Requiem was there to get Ethereum samples and send them back to HQ. Ivanov tells Sam about the warheads, and she radios the team behind Weaver's back. They arrive at a missile silo in Ruka, watch Ravenov win a pay-per-view boxing match, kill a giant purple people eater called Legion, and launch the missiles into the Pacific Ocean as per Sam's request.
And then all the fish become zombie fish.
After launching the missiles, Weaver is pissed. He takes away any connections Sam has to the outside world and can no longer trust Ravenov. But Ravenov still has the audacity to contact Weaver again. This time, a handful of Omega scientists wanted to defect. Their only option for protection was to join Requiem.
I wonder why they would want to defect. Peck seemed like such a reasonable guy, such a based leader.
And reluctantly, Weaver agrees to pick them up, sending a strike team back into the Urals to exfil them.
Alright, go to the urinals. Find them in the urinals. Take them in the urinals. It'll be great.
This basically becomes the second Outbreak Easter egg. Kravchenko saw this as his chance to finally stop Requiem from ruining his plans after losing the missiles to the Pacific. So he sent a guy named Dr. Hugo Yeager with a defected scientist. Yeager was tasked with killing the scientists and setting up a trap for Requiem. The Requiem team arrived at the sanatorium only to find a murder scene and a taunt written in blood. Then, as Raptor 1 comes to pick them up, boom! They get bazookaed out of the sky by Kravchenko and captured.
Wait, their plan was to capture them, so they shot a missile at a helicopter so that they could capture the survivors. What the fuck? That is not... Take them alive! Shoots down their plane.
Raptor 1 and team are dragged out of the wreckage, forced to give up. And boy, were we fooled. Everyone thought Raptor 1 was dead. Heck, I even had a funeral for him. A few days later, an outbreak happens in East Berlin. Maurer Toten. Remember Alexandra Valentina?
Yeah.
Well, she tries one last time to bring her dad back. This
Which isn't her dad, it's Space Satan.
time she is successful. Apparently, Ulrich had another end station lab hidden underneath Berlin.
I feel like there's no one actually cares about the level of threats of anything in this game. I feel like every single title and every single plot point kind of retcons the threat level of the previous situation. It's like, this is the only lab. If we stop this lab, we save the world. They stopped the lab. But there was another lab! A secreter lab!
Using the portal there, Valentina was able to pass through to the Dark Aether and reunite with him. The one, pretending to be Vogel, congratulates her as any evil Nazi father would. But he's got bigger plans.
You've done so well, child. You have massacred so many people that odds of blonde hair and blue eyes.
Plans in store for her. He gives her a new body and gives her command of his army.
Let's go. Classic German dad. Classic German dad. My daughter, do you want to maybe feel loved and appreciated for the first time in your life? I will give you Satan body and Satan army. They will do so well for you when you're trying to exterminate heathens. I'm so sorry. If there are any Germans that are actually watching this video, I just want to say, you guys are based, okay? Your grandparents, whatever. I don't know. Children, I don't believe children carry the sins of their fathers. This is just my hard opinion here, okay? I'm not trying to insult anybody, except for the Nazis. Those guys were fucking assholes.
Kravchenko arrives on the scene and forces Requiem to stop Valentina from releasing the One. And guess what? Raptor 1 is still kicking, but Kravchenko uses him as collateral. You know, just in case Requiem decides to bail. They can get him back as soon as they're done. Requiem sticks to the plan and brings Valentina to her knees.
What? But she was like literally such a good girl. She just wiped out, you know, humanity.
Then they use her Ethereum-infused body to power a nuke meant to close the portal to the Dark Aether. A killer robot that they met in Maurer Toten named
Just dropping this here. The killer robot was here. Oh, we didn't talk about it, but they met him.
Klaus sacrifices himself, detonating the nuke in the Dark Aether and closing the breach.
The friendly Terminator sacrifices himself.
Afterwards, Kravchenko's like, hey, want your pilot back? Come get him. Requiem grabs him, but Kravchenko isn't gonna let them leave that easily. Luckily, Samantha's powers are returning, and she helps the strike team escape.
Wasn't she the bad guy like a second ago?
The last thing we see is the director of the CIA staring at a
Valentina is no longer an issue. Agent Klaus completed his mission. Project Janus will now proceed unimpeded. Maxis presents a problem that must be dealt with.
Computer screen DMing somebody about Project Janus.
Yeah, ultimately, the conclusion here is don't go to art school. One World War II was enough, and if your dimension is fucked up, don't think that the better thing to do than fix it, your dimension, is just blow it up and move to another one. I feel like these are the main plot points here. What the frick? This was a mindfuck of a storyline. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. This was a lore dive that completely sent me in a complete other direction than I was expecting. Ultimately, this is a C tier lore. I know that the lore tier list, we gotta update the lore tier list at some point, but this is probably gonna go in C tier. It's definitely not what I expected. That doesn't necessarily mean it was amazing. It seemed very convoluted just for the sake of new games, new plots. I think I'm gonna put it in C tier. Thank you for joining me on this dive. I will consume all lore, whether the lore is mid or the lore is great. Thank you so much for being here. Have yourself the most wonderful evening. Let me know future lores you want me to cover. Apparently, there's a whole Call of Duty Modern Warfare lore timeline, Call of Duty Black Ops lore timeline. I don't know if we're getting into that, but 10,000 likes, and I probably will. So thank you for being here, and stay weird, fam. Like, subscribe, and this video was streamed live on kick.com/Nuxanor. See you there. Stay weird, fam.